In 1879, a factory floor in Cincinnati changed history forever. A young executive named Harley Procter left an industrial mixer running during lunch. The machine whipped massive pockets of air into boiling animal fat. This corrupted batch hardened into floating blocks. Procter named the product Ivory. He launched a massive marketing campaign celebrating its absolute purity. What nobody knew at the time was a simple manufacturing mistake would rewrite human skin biology. It launched a global cascade of manipulation. Corporations turned our natural defense mechanisms into endless profit. The archivist sits behind a massive oak desk in the semi-darkness. His green banker's lamp cuts through the volumetric fog. This is a dark chronicle of power, control, and the monetization of human biological shame. For thousands of years, the human race lived in a completely different sensory reality. People did not smell like lavender or synthetic pine. They smelled of sweat, dust, and raw biology. The concept of scraping away this natural scent did not exist. In the grand bathhouses of ancient Rome, cleanliness was a brutal and oily ritual. Citizens stripped naked in the warm rooms of the thermae. They did not reach for a bar of foaming cleanser. Instead, slaves coated their bodies in thick, expensive Mediterranean olive oil. This oil mixed with the accumulated sweat of the day. It trapped the loose dirt from the unpaved Roman streets. Then came the extraction process. The bathers used a curved iron blade called a strigil. This sharp metal tool scraped the grease directly off the skin. The resulting sludge was a dark, viscous paste. It consisted of rancid vegetable oil, dead epidermal cells, and gray grime. Aristocrats kept this filth in small vessels. The discarded sweat of famous gladiators was highly prized. Wealthy Roman women bought these secretions at exorbitant prices. They rubbed the gladiator sweat onto their own faces as a cosmetic cream. And no, I'm not making that up. This foul excretion was considered a powerful aphrodisiac. True soap did exist in antiquity, but its purpose was entirely different. The Roman encyclopedist Pliny the Elder wrote about a substance called sapo in his monumental natural history. This early mixture combined boiled goat tallow with harsh wood ashes. The Romans did not use this caustic chemical on their skin. It was far too abrasive. It would strip the flesh and cause painful chemical burns. Instead, the wild Germanic and Celtic tribes manufactured it. They used the greasy paste to dye their hair a bright, fierce red color. It was an instrument of psychological warfare, not personal hygiene. The famous physician Galen eventually noticed its cleansing properties in the 2nd century. Yet, for centuries, the substance remained confined to the industrial margins. Workers used it exclusively to wash rough woolen textiles. It cleaned the greasy wool straight from the sheep. Sailors used it to scour the stubborn grime off wooden ship decks and heavy rigging. The thought of rubbing this industrial degreaser onto a human child was unthinkable. The fall of the Roman Empire shattered the ancient infrastructure of water. The massive aqueducts cracked and dried up. The public bathhouses crumbled into ruins. A new theological paradigm swept across the European continent. Physical cleanliness became deeply suspect. Early Christian ascetics openly celebrated the rejection of the body. Saint Jerome famously declared that a person baptized in Christ never needed to wash again. Dirt was viewed as a visible sign of spiritual devotion. Holy hermits gained immense prestige by maintaining decades of absolute filth. Their neglected skin became covered in thick crusts of black grime. This condition was reverently called the odor of sanctity. The physical body was a temporary vessel of sin. Tending to its comfort was a dangerous path to vanity. By the 14th century, a terrifying shadow fell over Europe. The Black Death swept through the crowded medieval towns. 1/3 of the human population perished in agonizing pain. The medical authorities of the era scrambled for an answer. The prestigious Faculty of Medicine in Paris released an official report on the catastrophe. They blamed the alignment of the stars and the spread of poisonous air called miasma. Crucially, they issued a strict warning against the use of water. Doctors argued that warm water relaxed the skin. It opened the microscopic pores of the human body. These dilated pores became open gateways for the invisible pestilence. The toxic air could easily penetrate the vital organs. Therefore, bathing was classified as a suicidal act. An entire civilization decided to stop washing. For hundreds of years, Europeans lived under a protective crust of grease and soot. This layer of filth was not viewed as dirty. It was treated as a literal suit of biological armor. It sealed the pores against the external world. People wore the same heavy woolen clothes for months without washing them. The garments became stiff with sweat and bodily fluids. If a person felt dirty, they used a dry linen cloth to wipe their face and hands. This process simply repositioned the grease. King Louis XIV of France was the most powerful monarch in the world. Yet, his personal hygiene was shockingly primitive. He reportedly took only 3 traditional baths in his entire adult life. Each experience left him feeling ill and deeply unsettled. Instead, his servants rubbed his skin with high-proof spirits. He changed his silk shirts up to 3 times a day. The goal was to let the fabric absorb the bodily oils. The royal court at Versailles was a golden palace filled with unbearable stench. Heavy perfumes, musk, and ambergris were sprayed in massive quantities. They were used to mask the smell of rotting teeth, unwashed flesh, and open skin ulcers. The human cost of this prolonged water shortage was immense. Skin diseases raged unchecked across all social classes. Scabies mites burrowed deep beneath the skin of peasants and kings alike. People scratched themselves until they bled, creating deep tracts of raw flesh. These open wounds frequently became infected with deadly bacteria. Fungal infections turned the scalp into a mass of yellow crusts. Body lice were an unavoidable fact of daily existence. They nested in the seams of expensive velvet robes and cheap rags. The constant itching was a background noise to human life. People lost their teeth early due to severe gum disease. Chronic inflammation was a permanent state of being. Humanity lived in a state of constant physical irritation. Their skin was an active battlefield for parasites and microbes. Yet, the idea of using soap to solve this problem remained non-existent. The substance remained crude, foul-smelling, and dangerous. It was made by boiling the rancid fat of slaughtered animals in backyard cauldrons. The resulting product was unstable, highly alkaline, and smelled of death. The dawn of the 19th century brought industrialization and crowded factories. Cities grew at an unprecedented rate. Millions of workers crammed into dark, poorly ventilated tenements. The accumulation of human waste reached a tipping point. Rivers became open sewers. The stench of London and Paris was legendary. Amidst this growing crisis, the medical world remained blind to the true cause of disease. They still blamed bad air and imbalances of bodily fluids. Then, in 1847, a young Hungarian doctor arrived at the Vienna General Hospital. His name was Ignaz Semmelweis. He was assigned to the first obstetrical clinic. This clinic was a place of absolute horror for pregnant women. The Vienna hospital had 2 separate maternity wards. The first clinic trained young medical students. The second clinic trained midwives. Semmelweis noticed a terrifying and inexplicable anomaly. In the first clinic, women were dying at an astronomical rate. Up to 18% of the mothers contracted a mysterious illness called childbed fever. They suffered from high fevers, swollen abdomens, and agonizing pelvic pain. Within days, their bodies turned into septic corpses. Meanwhile, in the second clinic run by midwives, the mortality rate was minimal. It hovered around 2%. Pregnant women begged on their knees to be admitted to the midwives' ward. They preferred to give birth in the streets rather than enter the first clinic. This statistical reality deeply tortured the sensitive mind of Semmelweis. He spent sleepless nights analyzing every variable. He looked at the layout of the rooms, the ventilation, and the religious rituals. Nothing explained the massive disparity. The breakthrough came through a sudden personal tragedy. Semmelweis's close friend, a professor of forensic medicine named Jacob Kolechka, died unexpectedly. Kolechka had been performing an autopsy on a victim of childbed fever. A careless student accidentally pricked the professor's finger with a dirty scalpel. Within days, Kolechka developed the exact same symptoms as the dying mothers. He suffered from high fever, lymphangitis, and severe pleurisy. His autopsy revealed a body riddled with pus. Semmelweis had a sudden, terrifying flash of insight. The medical students in the first clinic were coming straight from the autopsy table to the delivery room. They wiped their hands on their pockets or common towels. They proceeded to examine laboring women with their bare hands. Their fingers were still coated with invisible, putrid biological matter. The midwives in the second clinic did not perform autopsies. They had no contact with dead bodies. This was the hidden causal link. Semmelweis acted immediately. He did not have a modern understanding of bacteria. The science of bacteriology did not exist yet. However, he knew that the odor of the corpse remained on the skin even after washing with regular soap. He needed a powerful chemical agent to destroy the invisible particles. He selected a solution of chlorinated lime. He placed large basins of this harsh chemical at the entrance of the maternity ward. He ordered every medical student and doctor to scrub their hands until the smell of the corpse was completely gone. The reaction from the students was hostile. The chemical solution was brutal. It cracked their skin and caused deep, bleeding fissures. It made their hands raw and painful, but the empirical results were undeniable. Within a single month, the mortality rate in the first clinic plummeted. It dropped from 18% to less than 2%. In subsequent months, it hit absolute zero. Semmelweis had conquered the greatest killer of young mothers in Europe. One would expect the medical world to celebrate this magnificent victory. Instead, Semmelweis encountered a wall of fierce, arrogant resistance. The head of the clinic, Dr. Johann Klein, was deeply offended by the theory. To accept Semmelweis's findings meant admitting a horrific truth. It meant acknowledging that the doctors themselves had been killing their own patients for decades. The medical establishment of the 19th century was highly class-conscious. Doctors were considered noble gentlemen. The very suggestion that a gentleman's hands could be unclean or carry death was an intolerable insult. Renowned professors across Europe ridiculed the Hungarian outsider. The great pathologist Rudolf Virchow rejected the data out of hand. Charles Meigs, a leading American obstetrician, famously stated that doctors are gentlemen, and a gentleman's hands are clean. The constant rejection broke Semmelweis's mind. He lost his position at the Vienna hospital. He was forced to return to Budapest in disgrace. He grew increasingly isolated, paranoid, and bitter. He began writing furious open letters to leading medical figures. He openly called them irresponsible murderers. His behavior became erratic and unpredictable. In 1865, his colleagues conspired against him. The prominent physician Ferdinand von Hebra tricked Semmelweis. He invited him to visit a new medical clinic in Vienna. It was a cruel deception. The building was actually a notorious lunatic asylum. When Semmelweis realized the trap, he tried to fight his way out. The asylum guards descended upon him with immense brutality. They beat him severely, strapped him into a straitjacket, and threw him into a dark cell. During the struggle, Semmelweis suffered a deep cut on his right hand. The wound quickly became infected with the very same bacteria he had fought his whole life. Within 2 weeks, the pioneer of hand-washing died of acute sepsis. He was 47 years old. His funeral was attended by only a handful of people. His revolutionary medical papers were packed into crates and forgotten. The visuals shift cleanly back to the vast, shadowed archive. Archivist sits motionless behind his massive oak desk. The single green banker's lamp casts long, dramatic shadows across the leather-bound volumes. He slowly raises his eyes to look directly into the camera lens. His expression is cold, analytical, and entirely devoid of warmth. He delivers a biting, cynical corporate twist. The corporate boardroom achieved what the medical academy refused to understand. They realized that fear is the most profitable commodity in human history. Cleanliness was stripped of its scientific purpose. It was converted into a tool of social segregation and infinite consumption. If you find these hidden machinations of history valuable, hit the subscribe button right now. Your subscription ensures that these suppressed narratives continue to reach the light. Now, let's return to the true architecture of this global deception. The camera pulls back, and the archivist dissolves once more into a detached voiceover. Pay attention to this next detail because it explains everything. The corporate strategy shifted from selling cleanliness to selling social salvation. The marketing departments of the early 20th century did not focus on health. They focused on the devastating psychological weapon of shame. They targeted the deep-seated human fear of social ostracization. A massive advertising blitz transformed the natural human body into an inherent biological failure. Every natural function became a source of intense embarrassment. The Lever Brothers Company led the charge with their aggressive campaigns for Lifebuoy soap. They did not just sell a bar of soap. They invented an entire medicalized terminology to induce panic. In the 1920s, their copywriters coined the term BO, short for body odor. They did not present body odor as a natural consequence of physical exertion. They framed it as a hidden, disgraceful disease. It was a secret affliction that ruined careers and shattered marriages. The advertisements depicted young, beautiful women sitting alone at parties. The text wondered why such a lovely girl could not find a husband. The cruel answer was always hidden body odor. The victim was completely unaware of her own stench. Only her friends knew, but they were too polite to tell her. The only salvation was a daily scrub with Lifebuoy soap. Another legendary campaign was launched by the Woodbury Facial Soap Company. Their slogan was "The skin you love to touch." They targeted the deep insecurities of young women entering the workforce. They suggested that professional success and romantic fulfillment were entirely dependent on a flawless, poreless complexion. A woman with a single blemish was depicted as a social failure. She was someone who lacked discipline and moral clarity. Cleanliness was no longer a medical recommendation to prevent typhus or cholera. It had become a strict moral code. It was a visual indicator of social class. The corporate co-optation of science reached absurd heights. Companies began scouring medical dictionaries for obscure Latin terms. They wanted to turn everyday occurrences into frightening conditions. The makers of Listerine took an old medical word for bad breath, halitosis. They plastered it across newspapers and magazines nationwide. They presented halitosis as a terrifying social handicap. It could cost a man his business promotion or drive away his fiancée. The solution was an endless cycle of chemical rinsing and washing. Soap companies followed the exact same blueprint. They created a profound sense of hypervigilance in the population. People began inspecting their skin with obsessive intensity. They looked for any sign of natural oil, sweat, or scent. The natural, healthy state of the human body was redefined as an emergency. It was something that required constant, aggressive chemical intervention. Think about that for a second. The industry completely dismantled our natural immunity. Modern soap contains harsh alkalis and surfactants. These substances completely destroy the skin's natural lipid layer. To understand how this works, we must examine the delicate biology of human skin. The outermost layer of our skin is called the stratum corneum. It is a highly sophisticated biological barrier. It consists of dead skin cells embedded in a rich matrix of lipids, ceramides, and fatty acids. This layer is naturally acidic. It has a pH level of around 5. This acidic environment is critical. It acts as a hostile shield against pathogenic bacteria and fungi. It also supports a thriving ecosystem of beneficial microorganisms. These friendly bacteria protect our bodies from infections. They are our frontline defense. Traditional soap is made through saponification, a process that creates a highly alkaline substance. Traditional bars have a pH level between 9 and 11. When you apply this alkaline foam to your skin, a chemical disaster occurs. The harsh soap completely emulsifies the protective lipid matrix. It literally dissolves the fats that hold your skin cells together. The protective barrier is stripped away in seconds. The beneficial bacteria are rinsed down the drain by the millions. The skin is left completely raw, dehydrated, and unprotected. The moisture inside the body rapidly evaporates through the compromised surface. This causes the tight, squeaky feeling that people mistakenly associate with true cleanliness. In reality, that squeaky feeling is the sound of damaged tissue. It is the physical sensation of a biological barrier that has been completely compromised. The human body cannot survive in this defenseless state. The epidermis immediately enters an emergency mode. The sebaceous glands receive a chemical signal to repair the damage. They begin pumping out sebum, the body's natural oil, at an accelerated rate. They produce up to 3 times the normal amount of oil to replace what was lost. The user notices that their skin becomes greasy and sticky just a few hours after bathing. They feel dirty again. Their hair becomes limp and oily. They assume that they simply have a naturally greasy complexion. They believe they need to wash even more frequently. So they return to the bathroom. They reach for the soap once again. They strip the lipids a second time. This triggers an even more aggressive response from their sweat glands. The consumer is trapped in a permanent, artificial cycle of stripping and overproduction. The industry created a problem and sold the temporary cure. It is a self-sustaining financial machine worth billions of dollars. The trap became even deeper after the Second World War. During the war, there was an acute shortage of natural fats and oils. Industrial chemists looked for alternative raw materials. They turned to the booming petrochemical industry. They developed synthetic surfactants derived from crude oil. The most famous of these chemicals is sodium lauryl sulfate, commonly known as SLS. This compound is an incredibly powerful degreaser. It is the exact same chemical used to clean grease off aircraft engines and factory floors. Produces a massive, rich volume of foam. The corporate marketing departments quickly realized that consumers love foam. They associated bubbles with deep cleansing action. In reality, foam has absolutely nothing to do with cleanliness. It is an aesthetic illusion. It is a clever chemical trick designed to make the product feel luxurious. The introduction of synthetic detergents caused an explosion of dermatological disorders. Skin conditions that were once rare became global epidemics. Eczema, contact dermatitis, psoriasis, and severe acne skyrocketed throughout the late 20th century. Children developed chronic skin irritation before they could even walk. The destruction of the natural lipid barrier allowed environmental allergens to penetrate deep into the lower layers of the skin. This triggered systemic immune responses. The cosmetic industry responded with typical corporate brilliance. They did not remove the harsh detergents from their soaps. Instead, they launched an entirely new line of products to solve the problems caused by the soap. They invented moisturizing lotions, body creams, skin barriers, and medicated acne treatments. The consumer now had to buy a chemical to strip their skin, and then buy 3 more chemicals to artificially replace what they just destroyed. Every single bathroom became a miniature pharmacy of corporate products. The macroeconomic consequences of this shift transformed the physical reality of our world. Consider the architecture of the modern home. Before the 20th century, houses did not have dedicated bathrooms. Washing was a communal activity or a discrete chore done in the bedroom with a small basin. The corporate cleanliness crusade changed the layout of human habitats. The private, fully tiled bathroom became a mandatory requirement for civilized living. It became an isolation chamber. Homeowners spent thousands of dollars covering their walls in sterile white ceramic. The bathroom became a temple to the corporate gods of hygiene. The communal bathhouse culture, which had fostered human connection for millennia, was completely dismantled. It was replaced by an atomized society where every individual scrubs themselves in absolute isolation. The fear of being perceived as dirty drove people to spend an enormous percentage of their income on plumbing, hot water infrastructure, and consumer goods. The global trade network was completely reshaped to feed this industrial obsession. To keep the cost of soap incredibly low, manufacturers needed a cheap, abundant source of vegetable fat. They found it in the oil palm tree, native to West Africa but aggressively cultivated in Southeast Asia. Vast tracts of pristine, ancient rainforests in Indonesia and Malaysia were systematically obliterated. Millions of acres of diverse ecosystems were replaced by sterile, monoculture palm oil plantations. The home of the orangutan was burned to the ground. This destruction was executed to provide the smooth texture and rich lather for cheap liquid body washes sold in Western supermarkets. The political timelines of entire developing nations were dictated by the demands of the global hygiene conglomerates. Corrupt governments granted massive land concessions to multinational corporations. Indigenous communities were forcibly displaced from their ancestral lands. All of this ecological and human devastation was carried out to ensure that an office worker in New York or London could strip their skin lipids twice a day with an affordable scented gel. In the late 20th century, the soap industry faced a new crisis. Bar soap sales began to plateau. The market was saturated. Everyone already owned a bar of soap. Furthermore, bar soap lasts a long time. A single block can last for several weeks. This durability was bad for corporate growth. The industry needed a faster consumption model. The solution was the introduction of liquid body wash and plastic pump dispensers. This transition was a masterpiece of manipulative engineering. The liquid soap was not soap at all. It was a complex cocktail of synthetic petroleum-derived detergents, artificial colors, and intense chemical fragrances. The industry launched a new propaganda campaign. They claimed that traditional bar soap was unsanitary. They claimed that bacteria could grow on the surface of a used bar. This claim was completely unscientific. Study after study showed that bacteria on a bar of soap are never transferred to the next user. But the facts did not matter. The fear worked perfectly. The liquid body wash was vastly more expensive than bar soap. It was sold in thick plastic bottles that were mostly filled with water. Consumers were literally paying to ship water across the globe. Crucially, the plastic pump dispenser was designed to fail upwards. A single press delivered far more product than necessary. The liquid slid off the skin easily, encouraging the user to press the pump multiple times. A bottle disappeared in a fraction of the time it took to use a traditional bar. The rate of consumption tripled overnight. Corporate profit margins exploded into the stratosphere. The environmental cost was devastating. Billions of empty plastic bottles were discarded into landfills every year. They washed into the oceans, breaking down into microplastics that now pollute the entire global food chain. This artificial purity created an unprecedented ecological disaster. The archivist slowly closes his folio. We remain trapped in the grand illusion born in that Cincinnati factory. Human systems change, but fundamental human nature remains the same. If you were surprised, subscribe. Click the video on your screen to dive deeper.